To begin our program, we would like to call on the Tampa Police Department Color Guard for the presentation of the colors. Would you please stand now, if you are able, of course. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Now, if you would please remain standing as we call on the Chief Chaplain at James A. Haley Veterans Hospital, Charles E. Smith.
If you're able, please join me for the invocation. To the grand architect of the universe, we ask our blessings upon this special occasion in which we give recognition and show appreciation to those who have given of themselves to serve persons with disabilities and those who have disabilities as well. Be thou with the one who will bring the keynote message of today. We thank you for turning stumbling blocks into stepping stones, roadblocks into opportunities for creativity, and providing the resources needed to raise a bowed head and bring ease to a troubled mind. Keep blessing us so that we can be a blessing unto others. Bless the food, bless our soul, and bless the fellowship. Amen.
I want to thank everybody for being here. I was very proud to see about a week or week and a half ago that the city of Tampa was named first in America. I think it was Wallet Hub, the website which ranks cities, was named first in America for persons with disabilities, the best place to be if you're a person with disabilities. That this is the best place to be, which I thought was really fantastic. And this, I guess, is sort of a celebration of that. And it's great to have everybody here. And I know we've got a lot of people who are winning very special awards, but the nominees, every one of the nominees are certainly winners as well as we get to this. And I, first of all, want to thank, unfortunately, Ben Ritter couldn't be here today, my old buddy Ben, who was the one who originally contacted me about being a part of this. But he said that they wanted to get somebody that everybody listened to on the radio and watched on television and enjoyed so much and just loved. And unfortunately, John Morgan couldn't be here, and so they called me instead. But, oh, okay, great. Yeah, Ben is at the Haley Hospital as we speak. Hey, I know one thing we got to do here, Mayor. We got to get a selfie with the crowd.
Okay.
Is that okay? If you want to jump over here. I'm not good on these selfies. But wait a minute, I got the wrong. Hold on. I got to turn it around. Okay, now I got it. Come on in here. Everybody smile.
Take a picture of our noses.
My nose almost didn't fit in there, I might say. But without any further ado, I would like to introduce the guy who has done so much for our community here, and who knows what he's going to do so much for in the future, but he's a guy that's loved this job, and I've worked with a lot of the mayors doing the mayor's hours and everything, and have known them, and I have never known anybody who had the enthusiasm and love for Tampa like this guy has. Welcome, Mayor Bob Buckhorn. Are you going to need these back?
Jack, the trick is lots of Red Bull. Let me introduce a couple people that are here today that are also a big part of our success. First of all, State Representative Ed Naran. Ed, stand up and say hi. We've got two of Tampa's finest city council members, Councilmember Harry Cohen and Councilmember who I affectionately refer to as our rookie, but he's doing great things, Councilmember Guido Maniscalco. We have any other electeds in the room? Okay. I couldn't do what I do without the amazing staff of the city of Tampa. Stand up, you guys. You guys make me look good every day. But to all of you, first of all, let me say thank you. That award that Jack just referenced is a result of your hard work and making this a place where folks abled or disabled can enjoy the same quality of life and succeed in whatever manner they choose to succeed in. I will tell you this is a city that is on the verge of something really special. I think we all know it, we feel it. There's an electricity in the air that hasn't existed in decades, and part of our job is to keep pushing that vision and keep pushing that agenda, but we need to make sure that not only every neighborhood enjoys that prosperity, but every person enjoys that prosperity. So thank you to all of you that have made this a better place. We couldn't do it without you. We are proud of your work, and let's make sure that in this effort to be that city in America that everyone talks about, that we don't ever leave anybody behind. Thanks, everybody.
And by the way, I'll give a shameless plug for our the Mayor's Hour. Fortunately, I'm still hanging in there as the co-host of the Mayor's Hour, and you can catch us on YouTube. Just Google or in YouTube, go for Tampa Mayor's Hour in whatever month you want, and you'll find it on there for sure. We got a lot more viewers than we did in the old days. Of course, you can always catch it on CTTV. Got the best TV staff you're going to find anywhere. I think they're in here today doing their magic somewhere. Oh, there they go. How can you miss that? Okay, we're going to go through the awards now, and I'm going to read the names of the nominees. And if you would, when your name is called, please stand, or if not able to do so, just raise your hand and holler yo. And if you're not called, don't say anything. So here we go. The Employer of the Year nominees are our first award. And from the Cheesecake Factory, Lamont Moore and Chris Nichols. Are they here? From the Town and Country TJ Maxx, Ivan Gonzalez and Chantel Royal Rodriguez. The Executive Chef of the Tampa Yacht and Country Club, Jean Christoph Seaton. Did I pronounce that right, I hope? From Precision Electric Repair Service, O'Neill Foney Jr. From Human Resources, Holly Wells. Human Resources and Jody Stanley, manager of HMS host Stephanie Jones. Department Supervisor of Tampa, Florida Division of WellCare, Ben Barclay. And the Vice President of Human Resources at the Florida Aquarium, Bill Eggert. And we'll turn it over to the mayor here for the presentation.
Before before I do that, how about a round of applause for a guy who never says no to any charitable activity, Jack Harris.
It's the free lunch.
All the rubber chicken you can eat. And the Lord knows I have to eat a lot of it. All right, the Employer of the Year award goes to the Florida Aquarium. Pictures. You're in the middle. Okay. Yeah, I'm in the middle. Okay. All right. You want to say something?
Yeah, I would like to say something. Thank you. This is quite the honor to be the recipient of this award. We've been doing this for the past 8 years, and it's truly been our pleasure to host the students from Hillsborough County. Each year they come in, they truly make a difference and an impact, and we were able to employ some of them over the years to help us in a variety of positions. So just like to say thank you. And I also have to give a shout out to Aramark. They are our third-party caterers and providers, and they also participate in this program along with us. So thank you all.
Let me know.
And I would urge you, for the sake of your hands, could be a little worn out by the end of the day here, to let's hold our applause, if you'd like to, here until we have gone through each category, and then we'll give them all a big round of applause. This is Outstanding Community Service Volunteer Nominees. From Retired Tampa Mayor's Alliance, Connie Hayden McPeak. What the heck? Go ahead and do it. From Mary Jo's Performing Arts Academy, Mary Jo and Kristen Scanio. And Ron Heimberger of Winthrop Plaza. These are our Outstanding Community Service Volunteer nominees. And now we're going to find out who the winner is.
To the Florida Aquarium, make sure that you check this packet because there's something in there that may fall out if you're not careful. So there's more than a certificate. The Outstanding Community Service Volunteer Award goes to Connie Hayden McPeak.
You forgot to mention that you're one of the original Mayor's Alliance people. Thanks. Thank you. I just want to say that I certainly couldn't be receiving this if it weren't for all of the people out there that always help every year. It's just, you know, it's never a one-person job, and it's been a labor of love all these years. And I was just saying to Jack, he was one of the original Tampa Mayor's Alliance members, so, you know, he has gone back even farther than I have, although I joined right after. So anyway, thank you very much. It was a real honor.
Thank you for throwing me into the Paleolithic age. Next, we have our Excellence in Media nominees. The founder and CEO of the Diversity Initiative Incorporated, John Probanik. Reporter for WTSP Channel 10 News, Bobby Lewis. Big story out there today. She couldn't get here. And also, for the Call for Help show, Paul and Laura Rabin, Axiel Marrero, and Eddie Vasquez. And now the winner.
The winner of the Excellence in Media Award goes to the Call for Help show. Which I could use about once a week.
Yes, sir. How you doing? Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, what do you want to do?
Well, I'm in shock. I thought we were invited just to pay for a table. But I wanted to thank Becky from the Yes Foundation who appeared on our show. It's on WTMP, by the way, from 9 to 10 on Saturday mornings. The concept is that people call in who are in need. We talk about their need on the program, but then we also have a charitable foundation that goes out and tries to help people in need. So like us on Facebook. It's called the Call for Help Show, and we're just happy to be here. Thank you.
And now we have the Joe Sanchez Jr. Leadership Award nominees. The founder and executive director of Yes of America United, Becky Forsell. The CEO and president of Tampa Residential, Vietnam Marine, Keith Collins. Hidden Treasures Ministries, Chautauqua Pinkston. And the Vice President of the Diversity Initiative Incorporated, Vanessa Rodriguez. And the winner is...
For the Joe Sanchez Jr. Leadership Award, Chautauqua Pinkston. While she's coming up, the Call for Help show, you forgot your award, which will cost you another table next year. While Chautauqua is coming to the stage, let me recognize somebody who's an old friend of mine who does some amazing work, Bob Sila from Operation Helping Hand, who is out there at Haley Veterans Center dealing with the young men and women who are back from Iraq and back from Afghanistan with traumatic brain injuries. I got to tell you something. If you ever want to volunteer and help a veteran who needs your help, go out there and help and go join Bob Sila out there taking care of those men and women that, they're in tough shape, and we are appreciative of what you do, Bobby. Hoorah!
Hello, I am totally shocked and totally surprised. Hidden Treasures Ministries we reach out to meet the spiritual needs of people who have all types of disabilities, to try to encourage them to be all that God has called them to be. So we have a great time doing what we do. Thank you for everyone who helped me from Yes. Thank you for showing the many people that help me do what we do for God. Thank you.
Congratulations, Chiquita. Here, I'll put this here for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me that's not an inspiration.
Let's have a big hand for our mayor. Next, I would like to call on the treasurer of the Mayor's Alliance, Brenda Clark, who has a special introduction to make. Here she comes over here.
I'm still beaming from Chautauqua. Tampa Mayor Bob Buckhorn, all distinguished guests at your table, Tampa Mayor Alliance for Persons with Disabilities, all of our members, so you can't hear me, is this better? All the award winners, our nominees, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Brenda Clark, and I am one of the officers of the board for the Tampa Mayor's Alliance for Persons with Disabilities. I am so pleased to be with you this afternoon and to have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, Dr. Elizabeth Perkins. She is an advocate of full inclusion and full participation of people with disabilities across the lifespan in all aspects of life. Her personal experiences and own self-determination as she transitioned from a youth to the adult community put her on a trajectory of being a leader in the academia field of supports and services for persons with disabilities. She has a great understanding and appreciation of the array of meaningful possibilities which exists for the community overall quality of life when opportunities are open for individuals with disabilities to demonstrate and share their talents and contributions. As you note in your program, Dr. Perkins is well educated, earning a PhD in aging services, a BA in psychologist, and also a registered nurse. Her international recognition includes having her textbook translated and published in Chinese and serve as an editorial board member of the UK's Royal College of Nursing's journal, Learning Disability Practice. Her national platform include being appointed a fellow of the American Association of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, co-editor of the American Journal on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, and being published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. In our Sunshine State, she is an active member of the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council, an advisory member of the Disability and Health Program with the Florida Department of Health. And in our great city of Tampa, she is a research assistant professor and associate director of the Florida Center for Inclusive Communities at the University of South Florida. Dr. Perkins shares her passion and educating others about the full inclusion and participation of persons with disabilities through guest lectures to self-advocates at Self-Reliance Incorporated, future physicians at the University of South Florida College of Medicine, future nurses at the University of South Florida College of Nursing, and in an array of human services-related fields at the USF College of Behavioral and Community Sciences. Finally, I must share with you that aside from all those professional accolades, that she is a fascinating person, great colleague, and friend. And as you see, Dr. Perkins is truly using her talents to change the face of our communities. We are all in for a treat this afternoon. Please help me give an enthusiastic welcome to Dr. Elizabeth Perkins.
Well, she's totally set me up for failure following that, hasn't she? Can you hear me okay? Okay? Yeah? Okay, great, wonderful. It truly is my pleasure and honor to be here today. I have got a little slideshow. Oh, great. Is somebody clicking it for me? That's wonderful. I thought this is a celebration. It's a celebration of people with disabilities, appreciation of what people with disabilities can contribute to our community, to employment, in all facets of life. And so I wanted just to sort of think about what types of message I would share with you today. And so I'm sort of just, going to talk a little bit about my story. You might have noticed as I was coming up, those that aren't familiar with me, that I am a congenital amputee. I was born without my right arm, and I had the distinct pleasure, actually, of being the first nurse, the registered nurse in the UK, to be registered and trained with this disability. And so I thank you. So when I was thinking about a title for my presentation, I thought, well, you might have also noticed that I have an English accent, which is a genuine English accent, not like Madonna's fake one that she puts on. No, actually, I think she sounds very American now. She's back over here. So I thought disability, neither a confiner or definer be. It's a little Shakespearean spin on that. And I hope when I share some of my slides and some of my thoughts with you, that is the theme that comes across, that sometimes society places things that confine us. Sometimes society defines us, but that is really if we let them and if we let that happen. And so my charge to you today is, and everybody in here is a supreme example of the advocacy work that we have to do and that we do and that we will always need to do, I think. But it's important that, we take time to celebrate our successes. So, employment awareness, I did want to acknowledge that. It is wonderful that we have this in October, and we're celebrating employee awareness. And I thought a few words of wisdom from some other more famous people with disabilities that you might be familiar with. So I am different, not less. I'm going to put it out to you. Does anybody know who might have said those words? No, it's Dr. Temple Grandin. Very famous advocate person with autism. What about, it's a waste of time to be angry about my disability. One has to get on with life, and I haven't done badly. The words of Dr. Stephen Hawking. What about, honestly, there's just Will stuck to my butt. How can that not be fun? This is the words of Aaron Wheels Fotheringham. a man with spina bifida who was actually the first person to do a complete somersault in a wheelchair. Phenomenal man. And then respecting and recognizing differences in others and treating everyone like you want them to treat you will help make our world a better place for everyone. Care, be your best. These are the words of Kim Peek. Kim Peek was the inspiration behind the movie Rain Man. And very wise words indeed. So we talk about inclusion, we talk about full inclusion and what that means, and to be participating in all aspects of life. And sometimes we have challenges with being able to do that, and that's where we always have to think about which are the ways in the community that we're not having those full access and the full range of activities that we can do as a person, and how we shouldn't be confined from not being able to do those. All aspects, that's our fundamental message of Florida Center for Inclusive Communities. The community needs to be truly inclusive. So a little bit about my story then. So it was a bit of an inauspicious start I put, and this is a lesson I tell my medical students. Be careful of how you choose your words. When I was first born, I was whisked away for 12 hours away from my mother, who was told that there's a problem. A doctor came to her 12 hours later and said, Mrs. Perkins, you know that there's an issue with your daughter. And she said, well, I know there's something that nurses took her away. I don't know what the issue is. And he said, well, your daughter has one arm shorter than the other. Well, think about that. It's not quite correct. So he set up an expectation. And when my mum actually saw me, you know, she was thinking one arm a little bit shorter than the other, not sort of absence of an arm. And so there's one thing that I say about to medical students about those first words can be very profound, and you can set the tone for a person's life with their parents and how they interact with their son or daughter with a disability. And thankfully for my mother, a couple of days later, there was a nurse in the hospital that said to her, let her find her own ways of doing things, she'll be fine. And my mum instilled that sense of independence in me that I'm really very thankful for. So you might notice as well, I don't use a prosthetic arm. 3 times, thanks to the National Health Service. They tried to have me fixed up with a prosthetic arm when I was very young, and the last time I think I was about 11. And short of it being a bit of a comedic device, and I say that because when my sisters used to bring their boyfriends home, I used to think it was a funny thing to detach a hand and throw it in the middle of the living room and say... Apart from that, it had no, it really didn't help me in any way, shape or form. And, you know, if somebody would have just said, do you want one? I would have told them on no uncertain terms. I actually find it easier not to use that. Now, this was at the time, you know, I was born, bionic woman, Steve Austin, and I had that real drive. I thought, oh, that's great. It's great that it looks like this. And then I actually found out that it wasn't that helpful to me. School years, they were great. I got involved in a lot of sports. I did hockey, anything that was good with an arm, with throwing, javelin, all sorts of fun stuff, and had a good time there. The first time I really noticed stigma was when I left school. And I had a lot of qualifications. I did really well in school, in high school. And I was sent along to a career officer that was basically saying, well, you can only do this. And it's like, well, I don't really want to just do that one thing. And it was office work. And I said, I'd like to do something else. And immediately it was that sort of sense of somebody putting me in a box and saying, this is what you could do, rather than, you know, listening to what I would like to do. And I got involved. I actually started to work at a nursing home. And I really loved it. And it was actually the nurses there that said to me, you're really good at this. Why don't you go for your nurse training? Also, okay, I went off to my nurse training. I applied to be a general nurse. I went along to the interview, and the person there said, well, who dresses you on a morning? I kid you not. And I said, well, I'd hardly be applying to be a nurse if I couldn't even dress myself. And he said, well, I'm going to send you off to our occupational health nurse, two doors down. And he said, well, I can see problems right away. How are you going to do CPR? So a couple of weeks later, I had the thanks, no thanks letter. But, you know, I'm a firm believer in sort of how opportunities just sometimes manifest themselves. And it was quite by chance that I saw an advert in a newspaper that was asking for nurses, student nurses for RNMH. And now that was for a specialist nurse for people with intellectual and developmental disability. I had no family connection to disability. Only in high school, there was somebody that was blind in one eye, somebody that was deaf in one ear, and that was me with one hand, one arm. And that was my sort of interaction with the world of disabilities. But I was intrigued. And what was so different was I wrote a letter to that nursing school and explained to them, you know, if you give me a chance, I'm sure I can prove to you that I can do this. The nurse there, the nurse tutor, said, well, we wouldn't be doing what we're upholding if I didn't sort of, you know, see what we could do about this. So they employed me as a nursing assistant for 2 weeks, and then after the end of the 2 weeks, they said, you're in. So there, I trained. I got my CPR certificate within the first 6 weeks. And I became known as that nurse with one arm, of course. And so it was a challenge, but for me, it was a person that opened the door. It opened the door and took the risk with me, and I was able to prove myself. So I have had some barriers. You know, it's adapting to change, I think, is really important, but welcoming change. So, you know, when we do see those roadblocks appear, sometimes we find other things that happen, and that has certainly been the case with me. So I came over to the US. Like I said, I had this sort of just dream of always living in the US. I sort of had this sort of a bit of a can-do attitude that I think really is indicative of sort of so many folks and the way the American culture is. It's a can-do attitude, which I really liked. And I came over and I did my bachelor's and I did my PhD over here, and I thought it would be great to stay. And what's been, as Brenda so wonderfully explained, is that I've had such a lot of opportunities to serve in major ways for promoting inclusion for people with disabilities that I would never have thought of in staying in the UK. These opportunities and the way that people can be embraced and be empowered to be a leader over here is really phenomenal. One of the things that I do a lot with my work is my mantra, is to make the unfamiliar familiar. I'm working with people that aren't really interacting a great deal with people with disabilities and then not sort of recognizing their unique talents and abilities or how that they can be best supported. Of course, I come from a health background, and so my work's all about how we can improve upon those things in how people interact, how health providers interact with people with disabilities, because there are health disparity issues even to this day that are notable and need to be accurately addressed. So role models and disability awareness is important. When I was a kid growing up, of course, anybody been to London here? Anybody recognize the fellow on the left? Is Admiral Lord Nelson. He's on top of Trafalgar Square. Man with, he lost his arm, and sort of he was a bit of a role model for me because they didn't pension him off after he lost his arm. He sort of had a bit of a good career himself. And Rick Allen. Anybody a hairband, Def Leppard? Yes. He's a drummer who lost his arm in a road traffic accident. So you think a drummer losing an arm, that's a pretty pivotal piece of equipment that you need there, right? He adapted, he changed the way that he played a drum kit, used more with his feet to adapt the loss of his arm, and continued to be a drummer, and a pretty good drummer too, if you like the hairband sort of thing. I think we had a few over there. Yes. So I think that's important because, like I said, when I was in school, I didn't have any sort of real connection to other people with disabilities. And so it's really life-affirming for me to have had that opportunity to learn from other people with disabilities and all different types of disabilities, and making the unfamiliar familiar rings true for me too. So forming alliances, I love that photo on the top left. I was in an airport waiting for some friends to come over, and that chap on the left, he was a veteran. lost his arm in combat in France in World War II. And we just like gravitated because like, oh, look, you've got one. Yeah, me too. And so like, and then there was people around us saying, let's take a picture. Because, you know, a little bit rare, you run into it. And then down bottom left, my good colleague to the right, Andy Bacon, who's just recently retired. She runs a center for people with disabilities, a university center up in upstate New York. Congenital amputee, the same as me. You'll see she has no left hand. So we love being at a conference together because she completes me. And we can clap. And then we had Kathy Greenlee in the middle. How good is that? Assistant Secretary on Aging for the US Department there, for US Department of Health. And then, of course, just being around folks and sort of trying to, you know, be energetic and enjoying people. I think that's a great way to be connecting with people, and we're always together, better together than doing things individually. And I just had to put the top right. I'm very proud of two of my doctoral students, but I like that picture because it looks like I've got an elongated hand, doesn't it? Like, it's actually my Heather's my student. It's her hand on Rick to the right there. So, but my hand looks like it's got an extension to it. So that's pretty cool. So disability does not mean inactivity, and I love this new symbol that's been coming out, you might have seen already, to sort of say that disability isn't static. And I love this image because it is that we're going forward. And your journey is a creative challenge. My journey to where I am today has had some roadblocks. We all have different ways in which we get from A to B, but the message is that we all have a right to get to B, however that happens, and however we can support each other to do that. And, you know, some of us get to A to B a lot quicker than others, but doesn't mean to say that that shouldn't be the end result for all of us, correct? So we need to rise. We still need to rise to a challenge. We still need to challenge people's beliefs about what folks with disabilities can and can't do. We need to challenge abilities, challenge your own abilities. I sort of, you know, thought, well, you know, I'm saying that I can do this nursing stuff, but can I really do all of it? You know, drawing up injections. You know, it was tricky, but you know, I learned, and it was just a case of sort of challenging my own beliefs. So it's not just challenging beliefs of others, but, you know, challenge what you can do, and pushing yourself and being able to meet your own challenges. Very important about other people's expectations, though. We do have problems with that, even to this day, and you know, the whole Mayor's Alliance on people with disabilities, that's such a great way in raising awareness about people's abilities and fighting against what preconceived expectations are of what people with disabilities can or can't do. And we always need to advocate for disability-related rights. Unfortunately, what happens is that we do tend to sort of, you know, get to the bottom of the pile of things, and we don't want that to happen. So we have to be vocal. We have to be visible. We have to be there when people are making policies. We can't be silent. We have to be heard. And that's why the people in this room today have been recognized and awarded, because they are making that difference in the community and in our great state. So embrace those opportunities to lead and empower others, not just what you do with your businesses, your communities, your organizations, but put engaged in organizations that have a bigger impact, that have a wider geographical impact, that have a way in which they can empower people and have more visibility. And that's really what we need to keep working at. More visibility, more awareness. Nothing about us without us, right? Come on, let's give applause. So, of course, you know, back to the royals. I'm also a believer that sometimes it's good to stand out. Sometimes it's good to be the thorn in the side. Sometimes it's good to be that person that nags. Sometimes we have to. Sometimes that is the way that we get heard. So It's not a real picture, by the way. Madam Tussauds, thank you very much. But it does look like I'm tickling Harry there, doesn't it? So again, context, and when we do these things, it's important. There's a time to blend, and there is a time that we need to stand out. So finally, talk a little bit about our fundamental rights. Some of the choices, we have rights to make choices, and sometimes those choices need to be supported to make those choices and to have options. It's not really an option if it's an either or. Sometimes we need to make sure that there are a range of options for folks with disabilities. The risk, dignity of risk, this is a really important concept, that how are we ever going to learn or thrive if we're never given opportunities where we might fail? Everybody, I ask everybody in this room right now, when did you learn to do something right the very first time? And yet for some people with disabilities, that right, that dignity of risk to learn from our mistakes, to learn from our failures, is not always there. So it's very important. And dignity and respect, important. Respect fosters equality. We don't want pity, we want support. Support is what we need. If you pity people, you're making a judgment. You're making a judgment against your comparison to your quality of life to somebody else. We just need support to have equality, dignity, and respect. And the right to learn from our failures, because we all have those too, and it's important that we have them. So, last couple of slides I have is what I call the stigma cycle. Neither a confiner nor a definer be. And this, as a person with a disability, when you're working with other people, that you have to educate about the rights of people with disability, we have to face these stigmas that persist. So that you have negative opinions, unfortunately. Negative opinions lower the expectations. They devalue people with a disability. Then you'll have your opportunities denied or even removed if a segment of the population is devalued. Then you'll have that stigma cycle of the pre-existing societal stigma being maintained. So my charge to you is to eliminate that stigma. People living and working with disabilities, we need to make sure that all their choices and dreams and opportunities are also recognized. Have a positive opinion of what people with disabilities can contribute. Raise those expectations. Have value for people with disabilities and recognize their value. Then we'll see more opportunities being promoted, and that stigma cycle will hopefully start to diminish and go away permanently. That is really what I had to say today. And I've been humbled to hear about and read about all the things that all the award winners and the nominees have done. And I think it is a marvelous way to recognize people. And I also think it is just wonderful that we have this celebration and hopefully have newfound energy and connection with people to do the work. This work is going to continue. It needs to continue, and we need to make sure that we have and promote the quality of life that people with disabilities richly deserve. I thank you.
Let's have a round of applause for this exceptional person signing up here, and also the person who is transcribing this up on the screen. They've done an exceptional job here today. And that concludes our program, and thank you so much for being a part of it.